Welcome to another episode of the Transforming Lives podcast panel. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Pankhurst.
And I'm Sharmin Prince.
And we are here to solve the problems of the world one episode at a time.
Be sure to smash that subscribe button, review, and download. And don't forget to invite a friend.
Let's go. And here we are again with the Transforming Lives podcast panel. And another episode. There's just three of us today, but that's great because I think we have a lot to say anyway. So maybe we just center ourselves for a few minutes, a few seconds, just to kind of come together and be present and just feet on the floor and a deep breath in, a deep breath out. And just drop the to-do list and drop the dinner menu and just have some time, some valuable time with some pretty strong, fun people, including our listeners. Another deep breath. Let's let the day go. And let's come back and let's talk about education.
What a topic.
What a topic. And I think we didn't really preview any of this. So this is going to be education based on our experience and how we feel about it. And I think we started talking about this because we were noticing there's new trends out there now, and it's not your linear high school, university, white collar, blue collar job. It's not that anymore. There's so many other opportunities, and it's exciting to me that there's so many opportunities coming up.
Yeah, I think the education system is going to have to make a fair amount of changes to be keeping up with. I mean, technology is changing so fast now that I'm sure it's creating issues on creating curriculum, particularly in the lower grades, because it's such a long cycle to get things approved and everything. But with things like AI technology, like we were talking about last week, and, jobs, if you think about so many jobs that exist today that weren't even a blip of a thought that something like that could remotely even exist 20 years ago, right? So, and what's it going to look like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, right? There's people who are prompt engineers now, no one had even heard of something like that. So yeah, I think that it's really for the parents and the kids to be looking, not, as you say, just at that sort of what's going on and what are they being taught at school, but all of the other resources that are out there where you can get an education, all of the different free courses. The universities have free courses that you can take, and there's things like TED Talks and YouTube and all these different areas where you can get education, but you also have to take it with a grain of caution because it's not necessarily all legitimate or good or solid too, right? So there's all of those things that factor into it too.
And I as women, I think for us, I think it's a critical conversation to have now with the introduction of AI, and to highlight the reasons that women should get into the education, especially the new wave of education, because of course we're fighting and promoting gender equality and gender equity. And if there are these new waves of jobs, it's important that we, as our women, also become familiar and educated. And I think also it's our way of guiding and mentoring the younger generation about education would be forced to change. Especially with what we spoke about last week with the introduction of AI. Like I think it's Walmart CEO said that by 2025, which is just 2 years from now, 67% of the stores will be automated.
That scared me.
It is scary, right? So, how do we guide and mentor young people who are asking us, what track should I take academically?
Mhm.
How do we do that?
And there's
I
so
think there's
many.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with me in the high school system, I had multiple conversations with parents who would sit down and say, they have to get this mark, they have to go to university, they have to do this. And it had no relevance around their skill, around the student. This was either, this is what I did, so this is what they need to do, or, that old, I'm going to give my kids everything I didn't have. But there's so many different opportunities and prospects for kids now. And I was thinking even the other day, like, more kids should be jumping into this entrepreneurship. Like, they're coming out with so much knowledge from COVID, for one thing. And why aren't we looking at these kids and saying, man, you are so good at this. You're so good at this. You don't have to go down this path. You don't have to go down this path. You can start right here. You've got YouTube. You've got, these channels. You've got social media. I mean, you've got exposure, global exposure, millions and millions and millions of people. And if one person has one skill that will help 10 people, they're going to have one skill that'll help 1,000 people. And so, I really love the fact that there's even all these courses, even if it's Udemy, all these courses that are online for $20 where you can say, oh, okay, I'm going to try this path for $20. Oh, I hate it. But that's $20 lost. It's not $100,000 taking your first year of university and figuring out this is not what I want. 4 years later, I'm working in McDonald's to pay off the student debt that I don't have a job for, that I came out of university with the degree for. Like, it's just makes me crazy when I think that some parents are still got their blinders on with what needs to happen, instead of looking at the kid saying, oh, you're so good at this, let's just do this. You'll figure out the money. You'll figure it out. Do this, do what makes you want to wake up in the morning before the alarm, and it doesn't really feel like work. Wouldn't you want to do that for 50 years?
Of course.
Yeah.
Course. But how do we encourage parents to do that when they have already formulated what they want their children to be, and what, as you said, how do we encourage them to think differently?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point earlier. You mentioned that, parents want to give children everything they didn't have. But in that, parents often forget to give children everything they did have, like manners and respecting people. And, like there's it's everything, right? There's two sides of the coin. But you're so right in opening up the world of what are possibilities for kids as they're going through education. My son, from when he was young, like I think he started doing YouTube when he was like 9, right? And my husband was like, like it's a waste of time. He can never make money doing that. And I was always like, look, this seems to be his passion. He's still holding on to it. And he has Tourette's and Asperger's, and he was interested in it. He would stay focused. And it was really interesting going through grade school and even high school. His marks were, some classes okay, some not so much. But when he was allowed to choose his electives, and he was picking stuff that was in film and in sports and in editing, and he was doing great in those things. And when he went to college, he went to college for film editing, and he got straight A's because he was doing something he loved and was really interested in, and he was building a skill set that he really wanted to enhance and do what he loved, and it made the world of difference. And like you say, I think people have to be really attuned to what are your child's unique gifts, and what are the things that excite them, and what are the possibilities, because just because we as parents don't know that some type of job exists doesn't mean that it doesn't. There's so many new things out there.
That is so true. I think, Cheryl, you mentioned the entrepreneurship. There's so many entrepreneurs today, young entrepreneurs, and many of the businesses we've never thought of, we've never heard of before the internet. And even before COVID, like I watch a particular channel that supports and highlights young millionaires, and some of them don't even have a high school diploma.
Because we're in the system, and I just got out of it, so I know what it's like. But they're in these four walls, and they have to check our boxes in high school. They have to check French, they have to check geography, interest or no interest, they have to check phys ed, whatever it is, they have to check our boxes. So when it comes to, yes, university and college, I love your story, Mitzy, because I see that all the time when kids go, I get to pick everything I love. Okay, now you're talking. Now I want to be a mechanic. And yes, I do still, we get these kids who do so poorly in math, but they need math for mechanics. But when they get the math that's connected to mechanics, guess what? They're flying, because that's their interest. Now they're driven, now they're motivated, and now the connection's there. Oh, I understand why I need to know the ratio of this to get to this. Now I understand the ratio of gas mileage, whatever it is. I get it. But integers, who cares? It means nothing to them. So why would they, there's no strength there. So yes, when they make those connections, when they check all the boxes, we make them check in high school, and then they can move on to college and university. And honestly, college and university to me is parallel. There's nothing above or beyond or below. When they say, oh, you're only going, or, oh, I only have college marks. No, I look at college or university as, this is how I learn. This is what I want to do. This is my drive. This is my skill. This is how I learn. So this is where we need to make those connections. And the great thing about university and college now is the supports that kids with special needs or disabilities are getting are unbelievable. It's fantastic. So they're making education accessible in every institution, but it doesn't mean that's the only place to go.
Well, exactly.
Exactly. I heard you mention a differentiation between college and university. In Canada, there is a differentiation between the two.
Yes, there is. So there you would get a degree or a PhD or a master's through university. College will typically offer a diploma or a certificate program, some bachelors. You can go to college and then go to university and get credit, or you can go to university, decide, oh, I'm not going to get a job in this field, and then you can go to college and get the college experience. So you can transfer over and bridge over and use those credits.
Yeah, in the past, college was more sort of the practical, hands-on kind of skills, and university was the sort of the longer, bigger degrees kind of thing, but they've kind of been morphing into each other. And as you said, the other thing is, setting aside some money, some time, and doing online learning. There are so many amazing course creators and courses and things out there. I mean, you can get the equivalent of a college degree or a university degree just from all of the different things you can get online. And, again, parents being open to that. And we talked about mentoring. You talked about older people mentoring younger people, but needs to be a lot of mentoring from younger people mentoring older people, because when you are younger, the same ways you can learn languages easier, and you can, they pick up the new technology and stuff. I mean, a lot of 3-year-olds are way more tech savvy than a lot of 70-year-olds, right? Like, I mean, it's just the way that they've grown up. So, but it's hard as a parent going to your child for, can you help me figure this out? Right? It's embarrassing. It used to be something you didn't see happen until like they were substantially older, the grandparents needing help. But now, because tech is changing so much and the world is changing so fast, sometimes it's, our age, that are requiring it. And I think that that's a big thing that companies, that businesses, and that small one-person operations need to realize, is that everybody brings something to the table, and it's finding their unique gifts and how it can help everybody work together and do more.
Well, spoiler alert, my daughter and her wife do the editing for this podcast, because it would never come out if it was up to me.
But come out if it was up to me. I
They
could give it
couldn't
to my
even
son,
tell me,
but
oh, Mom, put it in the Google Drive. And I was like, I'm just going to mail it to you and you just do what you need to do. I know my limitations at this point.
yeah, I remember when I started using Google Drive, which wasn't that long ago. I'd been using Dropbox for my stuff, and I'm going to say maybe 2 years ago, I started using my Google Drive and feeling very awkward and uncertain. And now, like, I love it and I use it with ease and stuff like that. But right, it's all, you gradually, you take those baby steps and you learn more and more, and don't be afraid to make a mistake and go back and fix it.
And also older or adults they're like simple classes on Udemy that they can take. And just to piggyback, go back to my question about college and university. I think the education system differs from Canada and the US, because university and college, I attended a college and I obtained a 4-year bachelor's degree. So you can attain a 4-year degree here from a college. A diploma and a certificate, you can get that at a college, but they call those community colleges.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure in other parts of the world, it's completely different than the United States and Canada, right? Everywhere has evolved into slightly different ways.
Well,
but
what's happening here too is our universities and our colleges are bridging together. So this is why now there are some colleges you can get a bachelor's degree from, but that's because our colleges are now affiliated with our universities. So our University of Toronto would be affiliated with Centennial College, and then they intertwine their credits, which, so it's ever changing. It's ever changing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I think that there's a huge opportunity too. There's so much available online from, other countries and other educators in other countries, and free classes. Like almost all the universities have, where you can sign up and get a lot of free courses and things with them. But as you mentioned, we can learn so much from what they're doing in other countries, how they're teaching, because sometimes they're ahead of us by a long shot, and sometimes they're behind us.
Yeah.
But also taking things from one industry and applying them into another industry. That's often where great inventions and massive changes occur. And I remember I worked with a real estate broker, and he had gone through and taken a course from someone that was specifically in a completely different field, but he took all the information that they were using in that and created a whole program for coaching and training real estate agents in doing things in a completely different way than they used to. And he's been massively successful because he was able to sort of see, if I take this and I tweak it and I change it and I adapt it, it can be explosive in this completely different industry. And we have to be open to and look at those types of opportunities, because those where those little nuggets are in the education.
The kids that are graduating or leaving high school, I'm always saying to them, if you know what you want, find someone who's successful at what you already want to do and talk to them. People want to share. People want to help you. If somebody said to me, hey, Cheryl, how did you get into teaching? What do you think I'm going to say? Nope. I'm going to give them the whole list, the whole gamut of how I got there, what to do, what not bother to take, what to take. You know, they'll let you to, avoid the landmines on their path to success. People who are successful leave clues and they want to share. And it's really, I think that's so valuable that when I say to students, just find somebody who's doing that right now. Just find somebody, call them, social media contact, DM them, whatever it is. It's a compliment when somebody thinks that you're doing something well and they want to follow in your footsteps. So that's advice I give all the kids coming through high school. And I'd love to know if that really comes to fruition for them, because I think it's a really great plan to skip some steps.
Absolutely. Reaching out to and connecting with the networking is a huge way in which to learn and to find a mentor. And as you say, not being afraid to reach out. You want to meet someone who you think is way out of your league for whatever reason in whatever industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You got nothing to lose by trying. If you don't reach them, connect with them, you don't. But what if you do? Right? So sometimes, and asking people if they know that person or can connect you to that person. I mean, that's one of the benefits of LinkedIn, right? It connects you to who the other people are connected to, and you can kind of expand and look and sort of say, oh, hey, I want to meet somebody at that company, and my connection here knows somebody at that company. I'm going to reach out to them and see if they will introduce me to that person. You can get much more information if you get introduced from someone who already knows them and makes that, helps with that introduction. So using that as part of your learning, using that as part of your way of growing and building your education is also fabulous.
And here's a twist that Sharmin knows about. Instead of paying for your education, there's new business entrepreneurship grants.
Yeah. And I just wanted to underscore what Mitzy said about the mentorship. There are a number of companies that offer fellowships and match you with a mentor. At this moment, I'm mentoring someone who is pursuing their master's degree, and we were matched through Braven. And she's also a fellow of Braven. So there are all these companies that are available, that you will be matched with the ideal person who will mentor you and guide you. I wish I knew that prior, right?
Yes,
because
that's
it would have
amazing.
helped a lot of us to avoid all those landmines that we had to navigate in order to find a career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, can we offer our best piece of advice about education? What are we thinking?
Follow your passion. And that thing that excites you whenever you're involved in it, there is that sense and that heightened sense of excitement, and you don't want to put it down, right? Follow that. That's where your niche lies. And once you explore that, you'll find the thing that, resonate with who you are.
I love it. Mitzy?
Yeah, absolutely. What you're saying is, find what excites you. Look for people who are already doing it and try and connect with them. Watch some YouTube videos. Look for the influencers in the area, and as I say, reach out. Even when it comes to the university or colleges, if there's a particular professor that's got a great reputation, reach out to them. Ask them a question. Don't be afraid. I mean, I started my path when somebody came and spoke to our school when I was 13 and talked about appraisal. And I walked up to him afterwards and said, "This sounds really interesting. I'd like to work for you." And he's like, "Okay." And that's how I got my first job in the industry. And, other kids were like, "Well, how did you do that?" I said, "Well, why not? Like, what did I have to lose?" Right? I was interested. You ask. Worst is going to happen is they say no.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm going to say, if you take the linear voyage between high school and college, or high school and university, before you get into your profession, you need to spend some time working with people. You need the grunt job, you need the Joe job, you need to know how to connect with human beings on a relational level. And there's so many times I can have a conversation with a teacher where I know it's been, not all of them, it's been high school, university, teaching. And when I see the lack of connection in having a conversation, a relationship with another teacher or a parent or the student, that's where that comes in. So you might have your education paid for, you may not need a part-time job like most of us had to take it anyway. Volunteer, get in the ditch and dig the ditch with everybody else, so that you know what it's like to talk to people and to listen to people and have a relationship no matter what path you take.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, is about being open to and taking those paths. And I had a thought and I lost it when I was trying to wait, and
we'll go back to the menopause episode.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I know, I was going to say, join and go to some like networking groups like BNI, or Latif, or some of these things where, or go and the one where they teach you to become a speaker. Toastmasters. Thank you. Because those skills that you learn at those types of things will really help you in all areas of life. And if you're afraid to be going out and meeting people, or afraid to stand up and talk in front of a crowd, you have to, it's like anything, you have to build that skill set. And going to those types of things can be invaluable for helping you excel in whatever career you decide to do.
So, spoiler alert, I just joined Toastmasters. I've had one class. So
it was like the name was on the tip of my tongue.
That's right. I knew exactly what you're talking about.
Well, hopefully everybody is going to give some thought now onto the different paths for education, and realize that it's not just one box that fits everyone. Oh, and I thought of one other thing that I thought of when you were talking about learning styles and stuff. I'm sure you've probably seen it. There was a cartoon or a comic that, was going around on Facebook at one point that sort of said, if you judge a fish by how it climbs a tree, or you judge a bear by how it swims, or a bird by, like, not everyone is the same.
Yeah.
And they have different skill sets, and it's figuring out what is your skill set and what are the right things for you to do. Because if you try, like, I am if you know the DISC personalities, I am a high I, D, and S, and I have like no C in me at all. I have, the cross the T's and dot the I's. I always need somebody coming in and kind of check out. I'm big picture. I love talking to people. I love being creative. But you want me to do tons of paperwork? That is not something I like to do. I need to have people to help me do that. And it's not bad. It's just, that's not where I excel. Better I spend my time doing what I'm good at and bring other people in who are good at that stuff and love doing it.
Yeah.
And, taking that into consideration when you're looking at what you're doing.
Agreed. Well, this has been fun.
It has.
One of our later topics. And if you as listeners have ideas, well, please feel free to DM us if you want to talk a little more about education. If you have some more ideas, please send them our way.
Awesome. Have a great week, everyone.
You too. Thanks for joining the Transforming Lives podcast panel. See you next time. And that's a wrap for the Transforming Lives podcast panel, where we strive to embrace, inspire, and empower our community.
Be sure to subscribe and download. Also, don't forget to leave a review and check the show notes for resources and contacts for all of us. Thank you for listening and see you next time.
Thank you, Sharmin.
Thank you, Cheryl.